never knew what would happen in a day. I might be.
Good evening. You're joined by your friendly neighborhood psychic, Brough Perkins, doing another live stream. Here we are, Monday, June 9th. My goodness, 2025. I'd like to welcome my esteemed colleague and co-host, Suzanne. Hello.
Hey. Hey, bro.
Hey, Suzanne. We have a special friend of the show, Loyd Auerbach, dropping in. Hi, Loyd.
Hey there.
Great to have you. So this evening, we were just having you on the show because I came across a really spooky video, which I think I will play, actually, for my viewers here. Just a real quick rundown. The video is apparently a capture of a ghost or spirit or something. It looks like a baby monitor video. A man actually in England in Sheffield submitted this after he had set up his baby monitor for the first time with night vision. His child was, I think, 9 months old or something, or first time sleeping in their own crib. So let's take a quick look. It's only like 10 seconds here. Interesting. Okay, it's going to be slower now. Now, Suzanne, you don't have the benefit of seeing this live as I played it.
No.
I'm not sure if I sent it. I might have not sent it to you, actually, Suzanne. Sorry about that.
No, that's okay. I'll defer to Lloyd's expertise at any rate.
Well, Loyd, you did take a look at it. Now, I'll just introduce you. You are a parapsychologist, an author, a mentalist, I mean, a chocolatier. You're so many things. It's unbelievable. But primarily, I know you as a parapsychologist and president of the Forever Family Foundation and the Rhine Institute. Is that right? For the viewers.
Yeah, the Rhine Research Center. Yeah.
Right. So if you want to just share a little bit about what you do for those institutions for the viewer first.
Well, it's more about what the organizations do. For the Rhine Center, I'm president of the board of directors. So, for example, this coming Thursday, I'm running a board meeting. Kind of oversee that kind of thing. But I'm also one of the lead instructors for the Rhine Education Center, teaching courses on parapsychology for certificate programs and just for fun in many respects as well. I've been doing that. Been teaching parapsychology since 1983, starting with graduate school courses. For the Forever Family Foundation, that foundation actually works with, the purpose of the foundation is really to work with evidential mediums that we've certified through a testing process in the family grieving process. And the organization runs several grief transformation retreats with the mediums as well as researchers and grief counselors throughout the year, and also supports the work of researchers looking at evidence for life after death and dissemination of the information for that about that evidence as well. So I've been president for over 10 years now. And I mean, really, the organization is run by executive director Lee Harris and our vice president, Bob Ginsberg, who's one of the founders as well. But we do try to provide resources for people who are in grief and be able to contact the appropriate certified and, let's say, checked mediums. We also make sure their ethics are good as well for that.
So even if they're a gifted medium, they might not have great ethics or a great approach, and that would not be someone who'd be certified or recommended.
Exactly. I mean, frankly, I've met some psychics who are very skilled, but I got to tell you, their ethics are out the window. They're all about money and all about fame, and they don't really care about their clients.
Interesting.
And that, I mean, that's going to be in any profession. Let's face it. There's going to be phonies in any profession. There certainly are phony mediums. Actually, there are phony mediums, or people who think that they are psychics, who are actually not psychic, but have really good observation skills and also have the well-being of the client in taking to heart. So you have people across the spectrum, and it's nothing to go to a medium or psychic that doesn't give you any useful information or help you emotionally. Doesn't know how skilled they are. And anyone, as one of the mediums has told me over the years, she won't see somebody more than 4 times a year. A good medium will not tell you to come back next week. And will actually restrict you from doing that.
I find that to be true. I've had to discourage clients from the same thing for that reason.
Me too.
Because once I get to know them too well, I can't I lose my objectivity.
Well, there's that, and you've then become a money suck for them too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not helping.
Yeah.
I've seen people at some of our, we used to do conferences. We may be doing conferences again in the future. Besides our grief retreats, there have been several people who, because they're getting readings from multiple mediums throughout the weekend, for example, and the mediums are never in the same room, so they just try to avoid that cross contamination. But they just, they're being told something that absolutely positively is, let go of your grief, let go of your guilt, go see a counselor, a therapist. That's what the spirit is telling them through the mediums. And it's the same message. No, they got to hear a different message. Whatever they're looking for, they're going to keep going to a different medium as many times as they can until they hear what they think they want to hear, which my guess for that woman was, you're to blame.
That's
Oh,
interesting.
that's interesting. We're both said at the same time.
If you're being forgiven by the spirit, because there was this woman was driving a van, got distracted, minivan, her son died in the crash, and her son came through all the mediums. And I had heard that this had happened with a couple of the other mediums for the foundation. She had consulted with them. She was like hitting every medium, and whatever the message always was, Mom, I forgive you. You need to seek, to let this go and seek help, other kind of help besides mediumship. The mediums are basically saying, stop going to mediums. And she wasn't. So some people just keep needing to hear something that they're not hearing. There's not a whole lot you can do for them other than to not take them on as clients. But most of the mediums the woman contacts didn't know or doesn't know that that's going on until afterwards.
That is so relatable for me. I tell people on average once a year that, you have to stop seeing psychics. You see too many of them. It's not very often, considering I have a 3-month wait list, but once a year, it's pretty frequent or consistent with me. And I have this one fella who lost his beloved wife, and he asked me what the special code word was between them. And I said, Pookie Bear. And of course it was Pookie Bear. And my colleague, Deborah Hooper, had gotten the same thing. But then I noticed he'd come back to me and he wanted to hear it again. But because I already knew what it was, I wasn't going to play the game. And I said, look, I know that you want to hear it, but I'm not going to appease you because I have to just go with what's been. And by the way, your wife has something else to talk about this time. So yeah, that's a good point. Did you have anything to add there, Suzanne?
No, it's the same. It's the same. I tell people not to come back. And there are people who want to hear messages, and there's also people who develop a little bit of an addiction, I think.
Yeah, and I think that's what it amounts to. I've seen those kinds of things again, over. And then there's those people who are upset because they're not hearing from the person that they want to hear from on the other side. I have to liken it to, well, if you, in the old days when you called somebody on their landline and you wanted to talk to somebody in the house and that person wasn't home and somebody else answered, the only thing you can do is call back. You can't expect them to show up for you. It's not dial a spirit.
Dial a spirit.
1-800-HEAVEN. We used to say.
1-800-HEAVEN. That's great. Well,
and they're just waiting for your call. Operators are waiting for your call on the other side. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. Speaking of people seeing what they want to see, Loyd, so back to this video, I'll just show it once more while we talk, is what do you make of this baby cam?
Well, the first thing I have to say is that we know in my field that spirits are not optical phenomena. In other words, you can't photograph them. You can't see them with your eyes. You're psychically seeing them. You're getting a signal from them, and it's processing in your perception. It's not your sense of sight. It's not your senses at all. It's your extrasensory perception. So because they don't reflect light, they can't be photographed or videotaped unless the spirit themselves affects the device, affects the medium. That's the only way that can possibly happen, unless you are affecting the video as a human being, through, this is a mind over matter thing. So when I see something like this and I don't know the provenance, I don't know who did it. I don't know whether he talked to everybody in the family. Was there anybody possible who could have reached in the middle of the night or at the time? Did he check that all out? And I would also have to ask if anybody's on Ambien, because you never know if somebody's sleepwalking at that point too.
Good point. Yeah. Well, if my camera's set up in my kitchen, you're definitely going to see all kinds of specters and spooks going through there every hour of the night. Now, Loyd, I know you do live streams regularly on Facebook. You join a lot of other people's as well. So I'll get you out of here on this one, but because I know you just did a 2-hour one. First of all, are you okay to take? Oh yeah, Suzanne has a question, and we have a caller, I believe, for you, Loyd, as well. So Suzanne, you first.
I wanted to know, like, what the difference be between like this ghost that that Brough was showing supposedly, or a ghost of any nature, and a loved one in spirit that's passed.
Or how would
Well,
you
usually when you talk about, most people who talk about a ghost is somebody who's still present in the physical world, versus a spirit who mediums speak to, who are projecting back from whatever the other side is, whatever it happens to be. That's usually the terminology that we use.
Like they're stuck here.
Excuse me?
Like they're stuck here, that idea.
Well, I don't like to use the word stuck, except for the fact that they stick themselves. So it's not like the universe is making them stuck. It's usually because they want to stay there. I mean, we hear, one of the things I've heard quite a bit is that they're still around. Somebody's still around, because we do bring in mediums investigations, and they're around because they want to make sure the family's okay, or the family's keeping them there because the family won't let go of their grief. So they're staying to make sure the family's okay. Or on occasion, it's like they're still possessive of their property. Or, well, I've got cases where the ghosts they're still around because they're having too much fun, honestly. So that can happen too.
Really?
That's a good point. Intense positivity, intense addiction even can be a big thing.
Yeah, I mean, it basically is human. Ghosts are people too, so they have their own personal reasons for sticking around. I mean, there are those who just are in denial that they're dead, but that doesn't last very long. I don't know how it can possibly last very long if people are interacting with you, or you're trying to interact with the physical world and you can't. You've got to figure out at some point that you're not physical anymore.
That's true.
You would think.
It's interesting the number of bars and strip clubs and things that are haunted in terms of restaurants. You hear about all these things that you see.
There's a reason. I mean, the funny thing is that for restaurants and bars, for example, the spirits that are there either worked there or were regulars. In other words, they were haunting the place when they were alive.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Their haunt, right? Don't you call
It's
it
their
that?
haunt.
Your
That's
local
right.
haunt?
Yeah, exactly. So it really is an interesting thing. And then we've had a couple of cases where the apparition, the ghost said, I didn't know where I'd end up. I don't know what's next. So I'm going to stick around because I don't want to take a chance.
Oh, scared.
Right. I could see myself doing that, like being, caught in between, not sure. Is it going to be better on the other side? But let's bring in, only because I think this is my friend Ryan, who had me on his podcast earlier this week, and I want to try and bring him in because I have a feeling he might have a question for you, Loyd. Hi, Ryan. Okay. Can you hear us?
Hello. Yes. Let me just mute the
stream.
Sorry, I have the stream playing in the background. It was double voicing. Yeah, sure.
Hi, Ryan.
I actually just kind of clicked the link because I wasn't sure how to do all this, but yes, I do have a question for you, Loyd. So you have mentioned before that sort of emotional imprints can be a factor in hauntings. So, for example, there can be an apparition of a person who is still alive, but it's usually in a case where, what's it called, where there's a huge amount of emotional charge. You've brought up specifically an example in the past of like a murder that was being sort of replayed, but the guy was alive. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So this sort of thing implies, at least to me, who's very, very interested in the training of psychic abilities and have done quite a lot of it, and have had many experiences, that if someone can leave an emotional imprint on accident, would they not also be able to leave an emotional imprint on purpose? And do you know of any cases that are like that?
That's a good question, and we do make a distinction between the imprints and the apparitions that are interactive, because that would be indicating consciousness after death, for example, whereas the imprints are recordings in many respects. The environment itself seems to have some play in this, as we're finding out, and we're still not exactly sure of all the environmental factors in terms of the imprint itself. That the environment seems to hold information, and certain imprints tend to be more, because they're emotional, or because you can say they're loud. There's a lot of action or something. They tend to be picked up by those of us who are alive much better. And many times they're positive. They're not all negative. It's just the trauma, the violent stuff. Frankly, there's a reason why the news is like that. It's because that's what catches our attention. Whether people can leave them on purpose, I don't know that anybody's really tried, at least not, certainly haven't tried in our field, but this has come up recently. I would say accidentally on purpose may have happened, because we've seen that and seen some alteration in what people, some of the ghost hunting groups are experiencing in some of the really well visited, well so-called investigated places that have been on TV. John Sable, who has written articles on archaeology and psychic things and ghost hunting, brought up the point in one of his papers a few years ago that the ghost hunters are likely leaving imprints themselves, and that the haunting itself may change, because all these ghost hunters are traipsing through. And I think that's a really valid point. But then there's the other side, which is simply the story. Tony Cornell, who was a longtime investigator for the Society for Psychical Research, kind of a luminary in the field. He was a 50-plus year veteran. At one point, we were talking back in 2002 at a conference, and he mentioned that there was a pub that he investigated that was supposedly haunted. He was from England. Pub he investigated in England. And he and his team couldn't find really any good evidence or good witnesses to the story that had been for decades, right? So they're sitting down with some of the witnesses in the pub, drinking beer and ales and things like that. And they're kind of round robin working on the story. And they come up with a different, better ghost story. Just, with this ghost story is kind of lame. Let's come up with a better story. That's the new story is the story they tell to this day in that pub, that's the real story. So folklore sometimes comes in as well. Whether that leaves an imprint, whether people now experience something, well, the story might create an imprint itself. But I think it's really an interesting idea. If we had some idea of the better on the environmental factors, I think we should definitely try to create a haunting in that way.
Well, that's all what I'm about. Not that thing specifically, but the training and exploration of that stuff myself. And I would love to interview you on my podcast about that some other time.
Yeah.
Sure.
Spruce Sigil podcast. We'll hook you up, Ryan.
Yeah, I think I got your email. In fact, your Sigil podcast. So I got that email. I'll schedule something.
Fantastic.
Awesome. Sounds
Connections
good.
made. Well, Loyd, it's so great to see you as always, and I hope you come back on soon.
Sure, will do. All right.
Awesome. Ryan, do you want to hang out for a bit? Good night, Loyd.
Absolutely.
Nice to meet you.
Thanks for being here.
Nice to meet
Ryan,
you.
this is my colleague Suzanne, my mentor, who's my fellow psychic.
Hi there, Ryan.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you. First time here. Actually, it's not my first time here. I have been here at least once or twice before, but that was years ago.
Years ago, that's right. Well, you're on the show live. We've got some callers lined up and queued up, so we'll be taking those soon. I'm just gonna remind everyone when you call in, please remember, click that microphone icon to connect your audio and try to go on camera because it's more interesting. If you've had a reading recently in a live stream, a week ago, 2 weeks ago, if you call in, please call in with a story or an affirmation, some validation of something that's come true. If you're a new caller, haven't had a reading recently, please ask your questions. So, Ryan, were you just tuning in to catch Loyd on the flip side here?
Nope, I had no idea he would be here. Actually,
Oh,
I just
isn't
figured
that?
I figured this was just going to be a thing of you were going to do readings, and I was probably either going to sit passively in the background and maybe say one thing or maybe say nothing.
Well,
I had no idea, and I just finished sending him an email too. So.
Oh, that's fantastic! You saw it live. Well, you and I had known each other for years. I think you had contacted me when I used to put my TV show on YouTube for a minute there in 2017, 18 or something like that, right?
Yeah, I think it was 2018. I don't even think the account that I left my comments on even exists anymore. But yeah.
Wow, it's so good. Your interview of me was probably my favorite one this year so far. You had a very unique questions, interesting questions. You got to get Suzanne on your show actually at some point. I'm throwing you
sure thing.
Throwing you in the loop here, Suzanne. Let's take.
I'll absolutely do that.
Let's take a caller now. I want to introduce this caller properly. This is Nora, and she's one of the original YouTube superstars. So I want to say in 2006 I found her. No, in fact, I know that in 2006 I found her. That was when YouTube was kind of still new, and all you had to do was just be yourself. There was all cat videos, interesting stuff, unique stuff. And Nora would just vlog every day, consistency, and she got to the top charts. And so she's one of my friends and one of the OG YouTube celebs. Let's bring Nora on the show. Okay, Nora, let's see. Nora, how are you, honey?
Hi.
Look at this ball of joy. You could tell why she's a superstar on YouTube, right, everybody? Okay.
I'm an
Yeah.
Eeyore-holic. I'm an Eeyore.
Yeah, you got your Eeyore ears. That's right. So, Nora, did you want to call in with a psychic question, or did you just have a story to tell?
Um, I was like listening to you on Facebook since it was a little delayed the story. But yeah, okay. So, um I had been listening to all these other psychics on YouTube recently and stuff.
Hmm.
Like, have you heard of Salone Bella or whatever her name is and Liz Cross?
Vaguely.
Yeah, I really like listening to Salone Bella, and she's like an astrologist or something like that,
Hmm.
and I'm just curious on what my karmic thing or whatever it's called, if I have a karmic thing, and or if I had past life or something like that. I'm just curious.
Something. You're open. You're open. Okay. Well, I'm going to, only because I know you, I'm going to have to hand this one to Suzanne. I'm sorry to put you on the spot there, my friend.
But
Mhm.
this was my birthday was January 12th, 1982, and I was born at 11:43 a.m.
Oh, great.
I have
Um,
my birth certificate. I
She comes with
found it.
papers.
I know where it is.
you're equipped. You're equipped. Yeah, because I don't read cards or do astrology, so that information just went whoop whoop in one ear and out the other for me. But what I can see for you is, do you have everyone has a life? If you're alive, I guess you have a karma, to answer
Yeah,
that question, which I think you already know. But it seems to me that your question is around work, like what you do, what's your purpose mainly, you
yeah.
know? What
And
are you, what do you,
my main act actually is like two is my sister. Am I gonna have a good relationship with her or not? Two.
are you going to have a good relationship with your sister? My feeling is, yeah, you are. Um, I don't know why, because I can't, it just, it
I
feels,
just felt that. I just have a big trust issue with her right now.
mhm. That can be mended.
I was like wondering if that was the karmic thing.
Well, it might be, but it doesn't mean it can't be mended, It doesn't mean it can't be mended.
I even told God I don't want to have her in my next life, God, because I feel like I'm gonna kill her. That's how bad it was in this life, though.
Right. Well, as I said, it can be mended, it will be mended, and then you maybe won't have her around again. Who knows about that? Not me. But
Yeah, but work.
because you talk to her,
Hmm.
So I think that you're, even though you might say that uh, you know, you have a trust issue, you keep reaching out.
Hmm.
It's you keep trying.
She's just condescending, saying, Nora, don't talk like that, and pretending
Yeah.
she's a parent to me, and that's what's really.
What
Yeah.
did Paula
Yeah.
say
She
that time? Paula's a psychic Suzanne and I used to see before she passed, and she's a
Oh yeah.
phenomenal card reader. And she used to say, "There's some people that just need to be right all the time. So you just say yes to
Yeah.
everything they say, and then you go and do what you want."
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, yeah, but with my work too, I'm looking for work. I kind of have a thought in mind on what I want to do, like try it out, you know?
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't
Well,
want to
and
say it
Let's
publicly on video, but I'm
let's
gonna
let
do because in
Suzanne
case
tune
my
in.
friends are gonna.
Well, it's good that you don't say it, Nora. Let's let Suzanne
Yeah,
tune in and see what she picks up.
because
well,
I had stalkers back in the day. Sorry.
it has to do with people is all I'm saying, for your work that was what I saw as your primary question is
Be
what
it
you're going to do.
be it
And
customer
Hmm.
service or
yeah,
something
yeah,
helping.
yeah,
Yeah.
some kind of service for people. You're good with people and you're at your best when you're helping them, you know.
Hmm.
So just keep going with the thing that you started. I can't see what it is, but I see that you've started to put something in motion. Is that like, did you put up little things like to offer a service?
She had to learn to with her counseling.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean then
Yeah.
when I'm saying that? You put up like, I don't know what it is, but it's a little thing that's
Stop.
looking
Stop
offering.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. when I
So
get mad, when I get frustrated, I'm like, stop, deep breath. That's what the therapist said me to do because I have
okay,
autism.
okay. So it looks like, anyways, keep going with your offer of service, and it'll work out for you.
Okay. Thank you very much,
Okay.
Nora. That was
Good
great.
luck with your sister.
It's fun. I love Nora so much. She's great. She's a character. I need to get the Eeyore ears. I guess I have my version of that with a ghost hat. You don't have any
Yeah.
accoutrement tonight, I noticed, Suzanne.
I'm accoutrement free, like gluten free, accoutrement free. Yeah, I
Accoutrement.
don't have anything.
You're just
I don't even,
riding.
I cleaned up this room kind of, so that's why my son, oh no, I have my glasses over there, but other than that, that's it.
We'll bring Kim on the line real quick here. Kim.
So Nora's a regular of yours or an
Well,
old client?
she's never called in before, but she has, as I said, been a celeb on YouTube, so I got to know her over
Oh,
Facebook.
oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I'm one of her fans, actually. That's the...
Yeah. Oh, that's neat.
There's an era on YouTube early in the days where it was almost abstract art, where people would just vlog of themselves brushing their teeth and talking at the camera. And so Nora's in that group of people that were the original top celebs before everything
Oh.
became very, high production value and everything. Kim, you've got to unmute yourself. We're gonna keep you there, Kim, for now. I'm gonna try bringing Jacqueline on in case Kim does not join her audio. Hi, Jacqueline. Can you hear? Oh, Kim, we've got you. Awesome. Okay. Welcome to the show. Where are you calling from, Kim?
I'm calling from Sylvan Lake, Alberta,
Oh,
in
beautiful.
in central Alberta.
Wow. Did you just find us on Facebook randomly?
No, Claudia is my friend, and she recommended you.
Oh, phenomenal. Awesome. So do you have a question for us tonight from
Yes,
Alberta?
I was just wondering kind of what my life's going to look like going forward. I've had a lot of healing and a lot of different things, and Claudia and I are planning a bunch of things. So I just kind of want to know what it's going to look like going forward.
Excellent. Okay, I'll tune in and anything you get to, Suzanne, feel free. We'll tag team this.
Is there a trip?
Yes.
I feel like it's a trip, but it's work trip. Like you're gonna go on a trip, but you have a work trip. Like you're planning it to not just for vacation, but it's I don't know what you're doing. You're taking it on the road, is what I'm getting.
Little bit
Whatever
of
your
a pilgrimage.
project is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not that I know of right at the moment.
Okay.
A little
Well,
bit of a
you'll let me
spiritual
know when that
pilgrimage.
happens.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I saw you having healed from what looks either like a widowing or some kind of loss of a partner. I'm seeing almost like your life in a place of rebuilding right now. Does that make some sense to your experience?
I'm rebuilding, but I haven't lost my partner.
Okay, your partner's with us. Don't worry, this is not a prediction. Was this a late life partner or did you have a divorce before?
Nope. It's a
Okay.
late life partner.
Oh, that's all. That's all. If you were in a long-term relationship with anyone else before this, that'll just register to me like Second Life. But you're still rebuilding everything, and there's this sort of adult son figure I'm seeing. Is that yours, or is that your partner's, for instance?
My partner has two sons.
Two sons. Okay, because one of them is going to be either getting married but it's also marking the next chapter of his life. I feel like taking on a business or being given a tremendous amount of responsibility, whether that's even a high level role in whatever field he's respectively in. Is that the A name with that son, or is that your partner?
No, my oldest stepson is his name is starts with A.
Okay, it might be the eldest I'm talking about then. Is it A like Alexander or something like this?
No, Andrew.
Andrew, okay, I'm looking for the AN anyhow, so that's good. So it's not Alex, for instance. It's like it's more like Andrew, okay. Yeah, and then for you, it just feels like rediscovering your purpose, centering yourself in your purpose, doing a lot of consulting. I'm seeing having to write up or approve of proposal. I'm seeing doing demonstrative speaking to people and even showing them maybe some sort of slides or something or presentations. And this sort of loosely links to career in your past. Now, this is what's weird. Everything about you is like a healer or a nurse, but I see more corporate-like environments around you. This is so strange to me. Can you explain that to me?
I was 30 years in the corporate world and retired 18 years ago.
Interesting. Okay. So it could be that you do some kind of consulting, and maybe the company or the industry you're in is similar to what you did before, but it has some medical backdrop or some wellness backdrop as the next stage. It's not like you coming out of retirement completely. I just want to be clear. It's almost consulting. So there's that, and it's part of the next leg of the journey. So it's like rebuilding, reestablishing, and yeah, that's more or less what my senses were. Did you get anything else, Suzanne?
No, I was just drawn mostly to work. I feel like you work, even if you're retired, you haven't stopped working.
Well, I have a healing business that I work
Okay.
at part-time.
Okay, so that's what.
So
Oh,
I'm
there's the healing
spiritual
thing you mentioned, bro.
Yeah, it's probably classes and stuff too. Are you looking into that more so?
I've been thinking about it. I'm in the process of getting my master's, so I'm working on my thesis. So, but I've been thinking about it. Just don't know what I want to do yet.
Yeah, and I even see a local college having you come in and work with them. So this is all for the future. This is a month. This is a year or so, maybe even to the month from us right now, which could even tie into your thesis being completed and everything. So that's what I would say there. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Again, just to be clear, it's just that you had a late life love. It's not a prediction. I want to make sure.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. No, I'm good with that.
Awesome, awesome. Well, thank you very much, Kim, for calling in. We're going to try to bring Cheryl on the line. Hi, Cheryl.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can hear you. Yes, indeed. So, did you have a question for us tonight or something to share?
Yeah, no, I just listen, I had a close friend of the family had actually passed. Just it was quite a shock. And I'm just, I don't know you know, if everything's okay there where he's at. And it wasn't on his own doing. It was through the night kind of thing.
Right. Yeah, I was going to say I sensed a gentleman. And wow, I keep seeing pills. I don't understand. That doesn't make sense because I don't think you guys think it's drug related. But could it be that he was on medication at the time?
Nope.
Maybe
No,
he
it
needed
was
maybe he needed it because I remember Deborah Hooper was like when she predicted my mom's death, which was only 2 months before it happened. Suddenly, she kept on going the pills, something about the pills. Turns out my mother had a blood clot from a surgery and a breaking her foot. But there was some dispute after the fact that she wasn't put on the right kind of blood thinners and things like this. There were a lot of things that went wrong, but we did have that in our, so I could understand why Deb would pick up on that. You see what I'm saying? Are you sure there's nothing like that here?
Yeah, no, it wasn't. There was nothing at all.
He might have had a problem he didn't know about that he needed medication for that he never got. That might be what the message there is. Okay, did you want to add something, Suzanne?
I just feel like there was no knowing he was going to go.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
saying
like
that
did
it
he did somebody else do something to him?
No, he was with his fiance, and they had just a real big busy day, and then had a what was it called? Oh, it's on the tip of my tongue, and I'm talking to
It's
you
like an
guys and forgetting
aneurysm or
about it.
something, are you saying?
Yep, it was
Yeah.
an
Yeah.
aneurysm. They never saw it. They never knew it.
Yeah, it was a huge surprise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And okay. And it happened while they were out.
No, they were just sitting at home.
What's he showing me? Does an aneurysm hurt?
I think
I don't
briefly
know.
it could. Yeah.
Just
But
yeah,
she
you feel
said, no, she said that he just went stiff, and
Anyway.
then she didn't know what to do, and then she called 911, and that was it.
I'm
You never
just seeing if
remember
he's
it.
'cause he's just showing me like, you know.
Oh, he's putting his arms on his chest like that. Well, that's the other thing. The nuance of this work. Maybe that's kind of how
Well,
he
he's
seized
not
up
moving
too.
anyway.
Yeah.
But that's not anyway. That's not helpful to you.
Was there
but-
any P initial involved, like a Phil or a Peter or something
No.
connected to
No.
him? Okay. Now, there's two ways. That could be someone he knew or was involved in their life in a meaningful way. Someone he's with as
Okay.
well. It could also be another relative of yours popping around, just because this is a random kind of stream. They didn't necessarily know you were going to be here for them to show up. So we'll see. Anyway, keep that on the
Okay.
file.
Yeah, we'll do.
Suzanne's still looking up, so I'm going to let her continue.
Well, I just feel like he wasn't very old. Like, was he 40 yet?
Oh, no, he was older.
Well,
But he
he
didn't
looks
make
young.
it through his 60s or so, eh? Like, how old was he?
He was 68, and he was a
Yeah.
professor.
Yeah.
Really? Well,
Yeah.
I don't know if it's even the same guy then that I'm getting here, because the person that I'm seeing is like 40 years old.
Okay.
So I must
Do
have
you
not,
see how
I'm
he
not
looks,
be,
Suzanne?
getting him.
Do you see any description of how he looks?
Well, he's just showing me sitting in, he reminds me of somebody that I saw the other day, actually. I'm wondering if it's not the same guy, which never happens, but of course it would happen on a live stream. Sitting in the chair. There was a client I had in her, and I think it's this guy, who said he had the best death ever. I told you about it,
I
bro,
remember
remember?
that, yeah.
And he was sitting in the chair, and that's who I'm seeing, or a very similar circumstance where he's just sitting in the chair and then he was gone. And so that it sounds like the same thing happened to this fellow, but it's not. I can't describe him. There's an overlap, sort of.
Mhm.
Do you know what I mean? In terms of Cheryl, because he was gone so quick.
Yeah, so I see what's happening, right? So you're getting that kind
Yeah.
of parallel. So it's reminding you of the other spirit, right? So that's popping
Yeah,
in.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's right there. But he's, he would have been gone so fast. And
What
your worry is that he's not okay?
Yeah, well, I don't know. I just,
Yeah.
because it was, everybody's just trying to rack our brains around, trying to understand it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no making sense of it, really. Out of the blue
Yeah.
like that. Like your mom, bro.
Well, yeah, it's a tragedy in that sense, for sure, for sure. But the pill will make sense if you really have the care to look into it.
Okay.
And it is that the kind of aneurysm, the kind of problem, and like I was listening to a professor talk. She had her Achilles tendon just snapped one day while she was playing beach volleyball, and she was fairly young. She was still in her 30s. And she found out after the fact that a particular antibiotic that she took, which was kind of almost very popularly prescribed, one of the side effects was that it weakens tendons to the point where they snap.
Wow.
There could be a medication he was on that weakened his arteries. There could
Yeah.
be a problem with the kind of arteries he had that would normally have been prescribed a medication that he wasn't given. I don't know which way to go with it, but I know I see a pill. We had another caller a year ago, and her father had passed away, and I got him coming through, and he showed me the name Mark or Mike. And she goes, well, I have an Aunt Martha. And I said, no, it's a friend. And if I was cold reading or feeling unconfident, I would have said, oh, sure, yeah, sure, you're Aunt Martha, fine. But I said, no, it's a friend. She called back the next episode that her mother said, oh, and actually your father's best friend from elementary school was Mark, and he died like a year before your dad died. So the P name for you, I really want you to remember that, and maybe call us back if you find out who that could be to him, right? Or who that might even be to you at a more local level. But that's coming
Well,
in.
there was a relative that had passed, like, I guess probably about 6 or 8 months before that had started with a P name.
Because I was leaning into the Pauls or Phils or something like that.
Oh, it's Paul. His name was Paul.
Right. Okay. So who would that
Yeah.
have been to you in particular?
So it's through my husband. It was a relative through my husband. It was a cousin of his.
I see. Okay. And was that also a similar passing in that it was unexpected or something like that? Could there be a parallel?
No. He was very old, and he wasn't well for quite
Yeah.
some time.
So it wasn't tragic the way that your friend was, but that it's just interesting
No.
the proximity to all of this. So for now, we'll say that's what that was, just as an overlap. Because as you're asking the question, I'm looking for all the men that have recently passed, right? So that
Right.
Paul might have gotten thrown in the mix, but there might still be someone that's important to the friend that you lost. So we'll let you sit with that for now.
Okay.
And thank you very much, Cheryl, for the call. Again, this is what you get on the live stream, folks, is you never know what's going to come through. Some of this stuff takes some homework and research, the same as in a private reading, which, by the way, we offer those. Suzanne, you have your private readings that you give through your website, which is suzannewalsh.net. and people can sign up. I send people to you when they complain about my wait list, Suzanne, because you're a little more flexible than me. I'm very strict with my time. Yeah, right. Is that a good way to word it? I'm trying not to say you're less busy, because that's not accurate.
Yeah, that's fine. No, it's a fine way to word it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So people
They'll find me, and I always firmly believe everyone gets a reading when they're meant to get a reading, and they get a reading with whoever they're meant to get a reading with. So it all works out,
That is
you know,
true.
so it works out great.
I would concur. And Ryan, have you ever had a proper reading with a professional medium before?
Once, and only once. And that was years and years ago. That was probably 2015, 2016 or something like that.
Oh, it's not too far before we started talking. Was that with someone I know, or was that just a...
I don't remember her name. I know she did one TV thing at one point. I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to remember her name, but it's been a while. And I unfortunately no longer have the audio recording of it, because it was on like an actual old style, like just digital recorder where it's just a recorder and nothing else.
Right.
I can see if I can look her up, but that would take a little bit.
It doesn't matter.
I have a question for Ryan though.
Sure.
So what is your interest in the field? You were saying to Lloyd that you were interested in the educational part.
I am interested most specifically in psychokinesis. I'm essentially trying to make magic real, if I really want to boil it down.
Okay.
And I've done a lot of work of my own, had a whole lot of experiences of my own. My life is not anywhere near as paranormal these days as it used to be, which is probably a good thing given the nature of what used to be happening. But yeah, I'm specifically trying to get sort of psychokinesis, macro psychokinesis specifically, to a level that is like practical and easily demonstratable, and all sorts of things in that vein.
Okay.
For a number of different reasons.
What is an example of that for people who might not know what?
The shortest description of macropsychokinesis as compared to micropsychokinesis is macropsychokinesis is Newtonian scale effects, whereas micro is quantum scale effects, like information effects, like affecting a random number generator. Macro is more like you're moving a block of wood across a table, would be that sort of thing. I'm taking it, or trying to take it in a little bit of a different direction, though. I've learned that you can take energy, whatever energy is, you can sort of condense it together. You can sort of bind it to itself to give it inertia. And you can use that to do quite a number of things. You can enhance a lot of what you would already be able to do just by making it more efficient. It's not as affected seemingly by environmental factors. And yeah, I've been working with that for a long time now.
Would you consider like healing the physical body, healers, to be a macro effect or a quantum effect?
So that would depend, because that is another specific thing I am interested in, because I am legally, though not yet totally blind, thanks to a genetic condition. And one of the reasons I'm working on this is because current energy healing practices don't seem to work well for things that are genetic conditions, or like, for example, type 1 diabetes, which I don't have, but it's just an example given by people like Bill Bankston. So they generally conclude that no, it's not really psychokinesis, because what appears to be happening based on the research, at least as I understand it, unless there's like huge whole gaps that I'm missing, is that you're essentially juicing up the other person's immune system or your own immune system to do what it's already doing more. So that seems to me to be not really a direct psychokinetic effect, especially since they actually tried to test that, where they would do things like give, I think it was carrots, cancer, because plants don't have an immune system. And so if you give a plant cancer, if you go and try to do like a psychic healing thing on it, if it's the energy itself directly, which would be direct psychokinesis, then you'd heal the plant, which isn't what happened. They didn't have any effect on that, which means that it's not direct psychokinesis. But I have an idea. What if you mix direct psychokinesis in with all that? What happens? And that's some of what I'm doing.
Well, that's interesting. Yeah, that's a big field. There's a guy on Instagram, Jesus is the light or something is his username. He's capturing himself and many people who are using their mind to affect objects, the wind, lightning, things like a piece of foil on a table. And it's pretty impressive, some of the videos I see, actually. So I have no way of contact. I thought of contacting him, but he doesn't make his contact available readily. But I'll send that to you at some point, Ryan.
Sure thing.
Well, I think we'll wrap up here for the evening. I'll just quickly check the chat before we do, just to say hello to everybody in the chat. Hi, chat. We have Janet Allison Rodgor say, are you in Canada? Yes, I am in Canada. We all are in Canada here. And Caroline Walsh says, isn't Suzanne a full-time teacher as well? Absolutely. That's why you're busy. And we've got Sherilyn that said, thank you so much. Thank you again for everybody who called. Just a reminder, next week on Monday, if you want to call in, prepare your question ahead of time, write it on a piece of paper, and call in on the links below. You can always get a free reading here. A mini reading is not quite the same as a full in-depth hour-long reading, but we do what we can. And we'll see you all next week. Thank you again for tuning in.
Bye, Ryan.
Bye-bye.